10:05. Right on time.
Right on time. CJ, how was your weekend of running? Well, now you ran the marathon on Sunday, the half on Saturday, and another race on Saturday, if I remember.
Yeah, I ran at 7 a.m. I ran a half marathon. Then 11 a.m. I ran a 8K on Saturday.
Wow.
And then I ran a full marathon on Sunday. It was great. I feel good.
45 miles in 2 days, basically.
About 45 miles in 2 days, yeah. This was like the
What hurt the most?
Probably my hip around mile 12 of the marathon started barking at me a little bit, but
you do this podcast long enough.
yeah, I didn't have any pain.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You got infected with the dildo. That's
Right.
what I said.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to repeat it.
Thank you. For the listeners at home that missed that, I didn't have any major hip pain after the race. It was mainly just soreness, tight body all around, but I'm feeling good. No major injuries to report.
Wow.
Everything held up. Digestion worked out. Shout out to the guy who works at Martin who sent me some Martin bars.
Oh, there you go.
The gels. I had a few bars on the way, and
you took advantage of that offer?
I
from
did.
him? Oh,
I did.
good.
He sent me some bars, and it was good because normally I'm having like up a Body Bio, my water, the Elite, and then I'll have like gels of varying kinds, but sometimes the gels just like don't sit
Doesn't
right
work.
if you have too many of them.
Yeah.
But they're good in moderation, but too many of them is not good. So it was nice to have like a solid food supplement on the way to keep it going. Yeah,
I was surprised how hungry I got when I ran a marathon. Like in the middle of it, like for actual food, not for a gel or something.
Yeah, because like you feel fine, but you haven't eaten in a few hours at that point. So like you need something, but I mean liquids can only do so much. So.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Psychopath.
Ridiculous.
Let's start this podcast that nobody is thankful for.
I feel like I haven't moved in months. CJ's fucking running all over the place.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process, briggsauction.com. MortgageCS, become a MortgageCS Ricky VIP at mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds, get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter Rizzo. Subscribe at rightstoRickySanchez.com/newsletter. On the show today, it's Thanksgiving, and we are not thankful for any of this. Absolutely not. Nope. Sixers are 3-14. Nobody knows when Embiid is going to come back. Ramona Shelburne is wondering if they'll maybe reacquire Ben Simmons. That's where we are, folks. But we do, in the pod, have some good updates on the enemies of the process. That's right. Some updates on Scott O'Neal. There is a quick update on Ben Simmons, and of course, a JJ Redick press update, which is a good one as well. There's a new episode of the Draft Council out, our draft podcast hosted by Dan and Ahmed. The subject this week is their favorite prospects leading up to the 2025 draft, which may become more interesting to us as time goes on. So you can get that wherever you get your podcast. New episode of the Carl Landry Record Club. We talk about albums from The Who and Humphreys McGee, and a new song from King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. If you're celebrating Thanksgiving today with family, there will, I imagine, be some alcoholic beverages there. You can make it better. Stop by somewhere and pick up some Surfside. If you're in PA, you can now stop by wherever they sell alcohol, so a beer distributor or a grocery store or a gas station. They have it everywhere now, so thanks to PA for doing that. Surfside's like perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect for watching sporting events. It's perfect for family gatherings. It's perfect for a Friday night as you're just watching TV by yourself. It tastes great, lightly sweet, only 3 grams of sugar, only 100 calories, and no bubbles, because iced tea should not have carbonation. You can try any of the varieties, the iced tea and vodka, the lemonade and vodka, the iced tea, lemonade and vodka, the raspberry tea, all of it. Go to wherever you get your booze, or just go to statesidevodka.com. You can order a variety pack there, but you got to be 21. And before we get going, a happy birthday to John from Brooke, her loving girlfriend. She writes, "Dear Team Ricky, my name is Brooke, and I would wonder if you could give a birthday shout out to my boyfriend, John Shields. He's a huge fan, even went on the LA Fly the Process trip with you guys at the beginning of the year. He turned 22 on November 11th. So young. Child. And I know it's a bit late, but I'm sure he'd be excited to have you guys wish him a happy birthday on the pod. So if you're able, please tell him also his girlfriend loves him very much. So loves you so much. She forgot your birthday and she made up for it by emailing a podcast.
That's it.
Yeah.
But she did send us $100.
She did. Yeah. And we split it. So John, if you didn't get anything, we got something really good with it. Really good. Well, happy birthday. I can't believe you're 22 and listening to this podcast. You should find some other better things to do. So happy birthday, John, from your loving girlfriend, Brooke. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights of Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is not thankful for any of this. That is one Mike Levin.
3-14.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
3-14 is the record the New York Giants are going to finish the season at.
Right. And they're horrible. They're one of the worst teams in the league. They're an embarrassment.
They cut their
fire
quarterback. Everybody gone.
Yes.
And here we are.
3-14.
It really, truly does not. Obviously, last night they tried. They're missing a bunch of guys. Effort was there. They go to overtime. I thought overtime was our area. We were 2-0 in overtime.
Yeah.
1 in the rest of the season in regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose it in overtime. It just feels like they cannot win and don't know how to and never will.
I never think they're going to win going into a game. Never, ever, ever, ever now. I feel like going into a game, we're going to need to get lucky. Like they're going to need to play really bad, or one of our guys is going to have to get extraordinarily hot in a way that doesn't make sense.
Well, it's because there's no offense. Like there's no bread and butter offense. And they were hitting shots last night. Maxey obviously got hot, but there's no every bucket feels like a miracle.
Yes.
And
a bunch of guys that are shooting 40% going one-on-one, except for Yabusele, who's the only guy who seems to shoot off of the ball movement and action. Everything else is sort of a mess in that way. And you want to, obviously Nick Nurse bears some responsibility there, but also when you look at the players, you're like, well, there's not a lot of guys on this team that are great at creating offense for other players.
But the defense isn't good either.
Yeah. Well, there's not any. Yeah. They're not good at anything.
Yeah. I mean, how many dunks did the Rockets get in the half court just getting behind the defense?
A lot.
In a half court setting.
Yes.
Just it's through miscommunications or rotations or just not boxing out the weak side dunker spot. It felt like the team was really engaged, and it felt like Nurse really wanted this game very badly.
Yeah.
It's definitely more engaged in the game than Nurse. He was trying to be positive. It felt like he was really whatever. He will never win a challenge. It's never going to happen. That is something that is beyond his capacity as a human being. He will lose challenges he doesn't even have. When they challenged when they did a booth review or whatever of Maxey's shot, that was coming down. That was obviously coming down.
Yeah.
It didn't hit the backboard yet, but it was already starting.
It was coming down. Yeah.
And
they were looking at the wrong thing.
To look at that, and they're just like, nope. Okay. Well, great. We didn't need that. We didn't need that win. You know, I like that the effort was there, but at this point, it just like doesn't fucking matter, dude. Like they're 3-14. That's so much of the season.
Yeah.
That's so much of the season that just doesn't.
It's like 20% of the season.
Like I was reluctant to, in the first 10 games or whatever, I was reluctant to go like, okay, let's just shut it down. People are pissed, whatever. I get it. But now we're approaching 20 games.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, we're going to run out of games.
Yes. Well, they are. So here's the situation it feels ridiculous talking about standings, but just for context. So they're 3-14, one game up.
Every time you say 3-14, it like really like it's a stabbing wound.
Yes.
3-14 is an insane
impossible.
record.
It sounds impossible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are one game up on the worst record in the NBA, which is held by the Wizards.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to be
worse than the Carolina Panthers.
Yes. If you wanted to be there's a lot of season left person, you could say they're 5 games out of the 8 seed, but only 5.5 games out of the 5 seed.
I hate hearing that.
I know.
Like that.
Well, so here's the problem with it.
I want to choke that person. Whoever says that it's still early, I want to choke them. God bless Kate and Ala, but like last night they were like in the fourth quarter, we really appreciate you hanging with all the troubles this year, this early part of the season. And I was like, fuck you guys. It is not early. Yeah. I mean,
it's not early.
This is why I wouldn't be good as a color commentator, because I would be I couldn't resist being as pissed off as I could possibly be if I'm sitting there watching it and traveling with the team and watching like loss after loss after loss. That's what they have to do. They have to do it.
+1 MOC pointed out to me, and I hope not to ruin his bet because I think he was going to bet it, but they're +150 at DraftKings to miss the playoffs.
Oh my God.
But here's the thing about them being 5.5 games out of the 5 seed. Okay, fine. But to make up those 5.5 games, you have to win games.
Yeah, that's so important to that.
And it doesn't seem like you're like, oh, there are ebbs and flows of the season, of course. But to make up 5.5 games, I just want to put this in somebody's brain. You have to make that up by winning at a rate that is 5.5 games better than the person that you're trying to catch. Mm-hmm. And it's not like there's one team in between them and, the 5 seed. Like there's several teams in there, all of which, every single one of them have been better at winning games than the Sixers.
It's so important.
Including the Pistons.
Such
and
a
the
rare
Hornets.
skill.
Yeah.
The best ability is winning games. That's what I say.
That should definitely be the thing. So I would say the interesting things, and before we get to the even worse news, because there's even worse stuff to come, Maxey was, I think, 14 of 34 for last night, but he did.
Well, he was 6 of 12 from deep.
Yeah, and was confident and playing in a way that was very Maxey-like. You do see him getting some tunnel vision a lot, which makes you sort of understand McCain at the point, like, as a lead more than Maxey, because I think he does that a little bit less. But you also saw, and Nick Nurse said this after the game, now defenses understand that McCain exists and his life is going to get a little bit more difficult. You could see that the last couple of games as well. Which
is cool. And also the Rockets are maybe the worst, and we'll see what he against like Boston or whoever, but like the Rockets are maybe the worst matchup for McCain in the league, in that they have several guys that are big, long, athletic, and can slide their feet on the perimeter and play smart. Like Amen Thompson is one of the best defenders in the league already, and also one of my favorite players. And he blocked McCain how many times? A couple times, like after the whistle already.
Yeah.
But like it was just there's nothing he could do. It's just like especially when his jumper was off and Jared was 0 for 7 from the field from 3, and he finished 6 of 19. Just like you're gonna have a hard time scoring against his team. And he's a rookie and he's hitting the wall and he's gonna learn about stuff and he's on the scouting report and all that stuff, and that's cool. But that last night was a game that you really saw his weakness come out. Like even just, especially defensively, like Jalen Green finishing over or around Jared McCain over and over again. Whereas Maxey, and I thought really impressively, had a bunch of good plays in transition. Athletically, Maxey finished with 5 steals. He broke up a lob attempt to Jalen in a 2-on-1 situation that Fred VanVleet threw. I mean, just the difference in wingspan and athleticism between the two of them. Jared is going to continue having a tough time against quicker, more athletic players that he has to defend. And Maxey has gotten better at defense over the years to be able to hang a little bit more, both with strength and already the gifts he's born with like wingspan and leaving ability and stuff.
I would say other positive from the game is Yabusele seems to get better every game in just about every way.
He's awesome.
He really is awesome. And now as you start thinking about the rest of this year, and there's a limit because of what they're paying him into what they could pay him next year.
Yeah. This is almost like, this is bullshit.
Yes, because it almost seems like, oh no, is Yabusele a trade piece? Like depending on how this year goes.
Oh shit, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because they're gonna have such a tough time signing him.
Yes,
because he's at the minimum.
Yes,
some team's gonna give him more money.
And if we're still a pile of shit,
yeah,
you know, I even love his tweets. His tweets are always so happy. He loves Philly. He loves being in the league. He loves you know, and he's getting better every game. He really is.
I mean, he's shortening the window that he needs. Like earlier in the season, it was like, okay, he really needs a lot of space. He's got to basically act like he's going to swing the ball, then realize he's open, and then shoot. Yeah. And now it's like he knows how vital he is to the team. And so the window from catch to shoot, even though it's still like a long release, he shoots it high enough, whatever, to get those threes off. He's getting more comfortable like driving and finishing. They've posted him up the last handful of games because it's like that's kind of some of their best offense. God, he missed the transition 3 to tie it at one point, and I really wanted it for him.
Yeah, it would have been great.
I feel like that's just like in the close games. That's the wait, CJ, are you waving? I need a big card. Okay, that's exciting. We're trying a new situation here to tell us when the ads are about to come. So we're gonna get CJ a big like cue card situation in the green room here.
He's waving at this point.
And I just wanted to call out the before we go to the CJ break one. I just wanted to call out the charge that Yabusele grifted onto Şengün
was awesome
in overtime on the spin move, which was just like it was a great move. He's just a really smart player, and he moves the ball and he's shooting it high. And I mean, 22-7, he's a minimum contract. That's a great signing. I'm very happy for him. And the reason, yes, there's a chance that they have to move if they're so bad that they just trade him midseason. Like that's brutal, but something to think about.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process, 4-generation family-owned and operated auction house in Delco. You don't need to worry about Delco, even though like born and raised, because it's all online. So you can download the Briggs Auction app and check the auctions out basically every week in the App Store or Google Play, or just go to briggsauction.com. We did get a very funny email from Danny who says, why are there so many Don Quixote statues and figurines at Briggs auction sales? There are at least 5 or 6 in every Discovery and Find Estates auction. Are these all coming from one person, or is there a rabid group of Don Quixote collectors that I haven't heard of? Now, before we get to the CJ item of the week, CJ, have you noticed all of this Don Quixote items in the Briggs auctions?
I have, and I've noticed the trend of having like multiple kinds of an item, and that's going to lead into my item of the week as well.
Okay, so what's your item of the week? By the way, in this, I know it's not your item of the week, and I don't want to screw it up for you if you're trying to get it, but there is a Herman Miller desk chair in the auction.
I did see the tweet, and I will always support whenever there's a Herman Miller Aeron chair in the lot. You guys should have a Herman Miller Aeron chair.
Absolutely.
My item of the week is a cast iron home bank, mechanical bank. There is a lot of like 12.5 cast iron piggy banks, and they're all very unique in how they're designed. So this one is just a home bank that is also a bank. And then we have
a bank that's a bank. Yeah.
We have some like more interesting ones like this. Like this guy, he's laying down, he's playing cards, and it's a piggy bank, and it's cast iron. And there are probably 10 more of these. They're just random figurines that you can insert your coins into.
Wow.
So maybe you just buy a bunch of them and keep them around the house. So whenever you lose change, you just drop them all around.
That's wild.
And they're expensive. This one's going for $500 to $700. This guy lying down playing cards.
That's a lot of coins.
Yeah, that's
clearly there is a market for collector item mechanical banks.
Yeah. Well, and that's the great thing about Briggs Auction is that they'll have stuff that I always say, Briggs Auction has stuff that you never knew you needed until you saw it. From art and collectibles and furniture, like, you know, whether it is like one of a kind older items or more contemporary items. CJ's mentioned the clothes before. There's always like clothes sections. It's always divided into different categories, at most of the lot starting at $1. So what I would suggest is you download the app, the Briggs Auction app in App Store or Google Play, or you just check them out on the web. Check in once a week, look at the categories you like, maybe search by keyword, whatever. And again, you find something you didn't even fucking know that you needed. If you win an auction, pickup is easy. On Saturdays is open pickup or by appointment during the week. And if you have a bunch of cast iron piggy banks that you would like to auction off, you can't go to anywhere but Briggs Auction. Send an email to info@briggsauction.com. That is Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process. Yeah, as far as like the rest of the game, I don't fucking know. They played better than they played before, but it like we're really like we're in moral victory land. It's kind of depressing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a really good possession end regulation on defense. Drummond, who moves on the perimeter better than
on Sengun.
Yeah, I mean, it was just nice ISO defense. You know, he's got great hands. He hasn't been good offensively. Drummond, he's not that good of a rebounder. He's just not.
No,
he just can't elevate that much. I know that I said that I was wrong, but I was wrong saying I was wrong. He isn't that good of a rebounder. He's just not quick to the ball.
Yeah, he's never there. There's so many times on defensive rebounds, he's nowhere even near it. It's unbelievable.
I mean, Rockets came away with 14 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
Keeps happening. But it was good defense on him, and then KJ Martin slides over to help. Now, I don't necessarily love doubling off of a wide open Dylan Brooks in the corner onto a great passer like Sengun, but it did work. They did go to overtime, so calling that out. We should talk about Ricky, but you mentioned Maxey just like having tunnel vision. Now we finished with 10 assists, moving the ball, that kind of thing. But there's too many times when, you know, he was 6 of 12 from 3, but 8 of 22 from 2, which is just too low. That's just like not good enough. And he doesn't need to be taking that many difficult twos, you know? I know that there's not other offense and there's what else he's going to do, but just get other guys the ball in position to shoot. And he had to, the whole offense became, especially in overtime, Maxey taking like full speed contested buckets. And he had a couple sick ones. I don't want to dispute that. Like one blow by Amen Thompson, that was just the fastest I've ever seen anyone move with the ball on the court. Like, it's unbelievable how he can be that fast and get the ball up like that. But because of how fast he moves, he also gets a lot of no calls on those, on those rim attacks. And you watch like Fred VanVleet or, you know, pick anybody, go to the basket, and because they're, you know, Jalen Brunson, because they're going that deliberately, they can adjust to, this defender bit in this way, and now I'm moving in that direction, and you get the call. And Maxey's just going so fast that the refs are not going to give it to him because they're just like, he seems unimpeded, but he's just too fast for them to see, I think. And so, I mean, there's that, and then there's just like he's got to diagnose who's open and get the ball to them in the shooting pocket right away. There's too many times when he gets doubled, like, I don't know, even like 30 feet from the basket, where if that passes offline to the open guy, then the defense has time to rotate. If the pass is like in rhythm, where they can either go right up with it or catch it on a short roll, and then they can diagnose who's open, like that kind of thing. It just feels like too often, and Embiid, obviously we've talked about this for years, Embiid's had this, where passing is just like, I get the ball out of my hands. I guess I have to give it up. I'll get it back. But it's
right. Instead of passing with a purpose to get, yeah.
And it's just, I just feel like it would make his life so much easier. And there, because of how frustrated he is, because of how McCain wasn't playing well last night, and everything had to be generated by him. You know, he had 10 assists as a team. The rest of the team had 9 total.
I think McCain only had 1.
He had 1, and it's because like even when he doesn't get the assists, he should be getting hockey assists because of he's getting a double send at him, and then the next guy swing, the shot goes up, like that kind of thing. Good for Maxey hitting all 3 of those free throws to send it to overtime. Those are ballsy shots.
Yeah, I was sure he was going to miss one.
Yeah, he almost missed the second one, but
that
was sick. And then obviously the play after, or the second play of overtime or whatever was the Jalen Green getting phantom fouled on a 3. That was the quickest review for a flagrant I've ever seen in my life. They look at the flagrant. It's not a flagrant. It's actually not a foul at all. Keep moving. Go ahead.
Yeah.
He's shooting though.
Why were they reviewing whether it was a flagrant? He didn't even get touched by anyone, really. I think Oubre barely touched it.
He wasn't touched.
Yeah.
And refs should be embarrassed. And the rule book of like, well, we can check to see if it was a flagrant, but we can't check to see if it actually happened at all. So,
right.
Okay, great. Good stuff there. Let's talk about Ricky.
Okay. So tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But Ricky Council did have a good game. You know, had 10 rebounds, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like a lot of his good game was colored by 2 3-point shots that I was terrified of him taking. Was like, what are you doing? That actually went in. And I can't tell. Like there was also one time on a fast break, I was like, why are you taking this yourself? And it ended up working out. I think he got fouled or something. So I can't tell how good he was because there were so many times where he was doing things I didn't want him to do.
Yeah, well, he was a +9, and nobody else that played regular minutes was a plus at all. It's chaos, and I might want them to trade him like right now off of this good game, and so people can go like, maybe there's upside to tap. Maybe he just needs to play in like a more, I was going to say processy environment, but we might be in one of those. Let him Jakar somewhere in the league for a while. I love that he got active on the glass.
Yeah, well, that was the best part.
Led the team in rebounds. Like that was huge. If that becomes a big part of his game, where he just is so determined on those. He's obviously crazy athletic. If he can keep like identifying, like having a nose to the ball and stuff, and being those kinds of wing rebounders that seem to kill the Sixers all the time, that would be very nice. It's messy, you know, like the step back 3 was crazy. It was a crazy step back 3. It went in great, but then and then gets a steal on the other end and has a nice lead for Yabusele, who got fouled, and that was the first. I think that was how they took the first lead of the game. They at one point. He was posted
him up.
Tari Eason.
Posted him up. Why?
And then they gave him the ball?
Yes.
And obviously that resulted in an air ball and an offensive foul. And yeah, he hits that 3, but the catch and shoot off the catch, but his catch and shoot form is so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
That I really I'll never think it's going in, and it just feels like an outfielder kind of lazily throwing the ball into the infield. Just like he's not going to run, and it goes in, but a big chase down block on Fred, huge play, and and then gets called for the 5-second violation with 2 minutes left in crunch time. Why is he taking the ball out? First of all, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't let Ricky throw an important inbounds pass. Then he has that catch and shoot, and so it's just like he's going to kill you with. Mental mistakes with make the shot choice and trying to do too much and getting into ISO mode when he should just be moving the ball. But he also has a ton of natural gifts, and they occasionally need someone to just come in and provide a spark like that. So he did last night, if they won, he would have been a big reason why. But it's also tough. I mean, I think it was overtime when he bit on the Şengün pump fake, coming over to help, lands on him, goes to the line. Drummond was back there. He didn't need to do that. Like, it just, he's kind of in the wrong place a lot of the time on defense. You take the good with the bad, I think, with Ricky when you need him, and sometimes you don't need him, and you can go like, okay, he's not in the rotation, and sometimes you go, all right, let's swallow this and hope we come out on the positive side. But I struggle to see him becoming a
real rotation
consistent,
guy.
Reliable type of player. But if he could be a sweetener in a trade, that would also be nice. But now you got me thinking about Yabusele getting traded midseason. And it's making me sad.
It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I don't think they're going to be able to sign him next season.
No, isn't it like it's you can only sign a guy for a certain percentage over what you signed him in that situation, and
Which I think is dumb.
Well, my guess is
why is that?
Well, because I guess on some level it protects the player for you trying to sign him for too little. So if you have interest in, well, think about it this way. So if they had real interest in keeping Yabusele, if they really believed he would be good, and they had real interest in keeping him beyond this year, then when they would sign him for more this year, knowing that they could sign him for more after that. So signing him for very little restricts you from giving him more and taking advantage of somebody who's desperate. That would be my guess. From a union standpoint, that would be I think that would be the reasoning.
That seems silly to me. That seems like why, he wasn't in the league. And
I
so
don't know.
There's plenty of guys that get the minimum, and now he's playing well, and the Sixers are going to be impeded from signing their own guy to more money.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that seems seems like backwards.
If he continues to play like this, he's going to get a 3-year, $36 million deal somewhere, and which will be more than the Sixers can spend. So, well, we'll get to the bad news and the enemies of the process.
that was the good news.
That was the.
I hope you guys like
the
the good
part
news
first. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about them losing to James Harden's Clippers by 26.
No. Can we just skip over that one?
No, I'm fine. I'm saying we have completed the good news part of the podcast.
Yes. Writes the Ricky Sanchez podcast, brought to you by MortgageCS, who should be your mortgage broker. They are independent. They are Ricky adjacent. They are in the area. They are fucking awesome, communicative. There anytime you need them, which is not the way it usually goes with mortgage brokers. So again, go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. You can find out all about them, more than what I tell you now. But essentially what I'm telling you the difference is with them is, one, they are communicative and like on your side, I guess, is the thing that I would say. Most mortgage brokers take on too much, so most of your communication with them is quick. It is scattered. They're not always there when you need them, but MortgageCS is always there when you need them, which is important because buying a house, like sometimes you go see the house in the middle of the week at 8 o'clock at night and you need a pre-qualification letter, and that's when MortgageCS is going to be there for you. And what I would also tell you is if you're working with somebody else as you're trying to buy a house, use MortgageCS for a second opinion. Like a lot of times realtors will say, well, you should use my mortgage broker. And there's nothing wrong with talking to them, but it's never too late to get a second opinion. And also, like having a good, figuring out the landscape of when mortgage rates are going to go up and when they're going to go down and that sort of stuff is very difficult. And having a partner like MortgageCS is really important. Like, as you might know, Fed cut interest rates, I think 0.75 of a point over the last 6 months, but mortgage rates start to creep back up, and they can tell you why and when that might change. So I think having a partner like MortgageCS is really, really important. The independent part is important. Their customer is you, not the banks. So as I said, go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky, schedule a consultation, and you get treated like a Ricky VIP. Or I'm going to give you Ben, the CEO's cell number. You can call or text him at any time. It's his real cell number. If you're watching live on Twitter or YouTube or wherever we're putting this pod, or Twitch, you can text him right now, see if he answers back on fucking Thanksgiving. And I know you think it's rude, but I just want you to it's proof that it's going to work. 267-391-7425. That is Ben Sell. 267-391-7425. If you don't believe me, Google it. You can see all the awesome reviews from MortgageCS. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. MortgageCS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. We got this email from Nathan at writesrickysanchez@gmail.com. Nathan says, my kids refuse to watch the Sixers with me. This has never happened before. They'd rather watch, in italics, hockey because the Sixers are, quote, too depressing. This disaster is literally tearing families apart and costing the team a generation of fans.
Good.
So, yeah,
smart kids. Better kid than I am.
Yeah. So Joel Embiid is still not playing. This is what Nick Nurse had to say last night about, I believe that is Dave Uram asking the question about when he might be available and his progress.
What can you expect from him going forward for the rest of the season?
Well, I don't think we know, right? I think we all of that you said is on our table or on our plate. I mean, he needs to play again and see how it reacts. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. It gets to a point where he can play, and then the recovery process of when he can go again and all that kind of stuff. I think we knew there'd be some moments and times where it's going to take a little longer, but they're hoping that those times in between playing get less and less as we go here, as it gets a little stronger.
So this comes on the heel of a similar Sam Amick report, and Ramona Shelburne wrote an article that didn't have a ton of info in it, but she said the team at Embiid sought a half dozen medical opinions before. And by the way, this is a lot of what we told you before the season even started. It's just that what is happening is, I believe, the worst case scenario. The team at Embiid sought a half dozen medical opinions before signing him to a 3-year, $192 million extension this September. And all of those consulted believed his knee could be adequately managed by a combination of strategic rest and procedures to promote healing, which Embiid has been regularly undergoing since last season. Both the team and Embiid hoped his troublesome knee would be healthy enough to start the season, sources said, yet week after week, the Sixers would issue updates that he was still out, but they were hopeful he'd be ready soon. At first, it seemed as though he simply needed more time to work his way back into shape after taking off time following the Olympics, but as the preseason wore on, it was clear to anyone who saw him that Embiid's knee was not right. So,
did you see the headline of that Ramona article? Or at least the,
oh, it was like leaks and...
Well, there was that. Oh. That might not be that was the headline, but the ESPN alert that I got for it was karma comes for the Sixers. And it's like, what is this fucking... It's as if the Sixers are like the villain in like a morality play. Like still, there's everyone feels like the Sixers should get some comeuppance.
Yeah,
for their actions,
for their GM 4 GMs ago. Yeah,
and I just want to say,
8 years.
Have we not been?
Yes.
Has karma been on our side the whole time?
Yeah. Was the Markelle Fultz thing? Was that good karma? Was the Ben Simmons thing? Was that good karma? We've had our comeuppance.
We're
sorry.
I've been come up on so much. Every year of this podcast, just more, do a supercut of us fucking dying after every playoff loss. But I'm sure it was just some random, person in socials at ESPN or something like that did it. But fuck that person. Fuck them.
So, as we said before the pod, I think it is fair to say, I believe all this. They knew this going in. What they didn't think was, or what they hoped would not happen, is this, the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario was there was always going to be weeks where nothing happened and his knee swelled up and he was going to miss a week for no reason. But what you would hoped, and I think what they hoped and believed, is that there was a better possibility that there would be significant stretches in between those times where he would be able to play.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't know how you could be optimistic right now. He's had a ton of time to rest. He's only played 4 games. He's like all of the treatments. Now, could it even out and everything be okay in a month? I guess, but there's no reason to believe that it's going to go in that direction considering where we are right now.
Yeah, they're still projecting like positivity about Joel, and I heard, and I'm sure you did, similar stuff that was in the Ramona article.
Yep.
Of just like, yeah, we thought it looks fine, and everybody said it looks fine, and it's just going to be something that manages, and it's just like the swelling has not gone down, and it's been sort of confusing for everybody.
And by the way, I think fine is relative. Manageable is, I think, what they thought. Not his knee looks fine.
I think fine compared to
relative
other people in the league. Like if you look at everybody, every player, especially at Joel's age, especially at Joel's size, is going to have some stuff going on in their joints and stuff. But at what point do you go, all right, it's not going down. Sixers are 3-14. Sit him for the season. Like at what point do you just say there doesn't exist a purpose here? Would giving him the like Lonzo year off do anything for it? Who knows? They don't seem to think that, and I don't know at what point in the season the mountain that they're going to have to climb
becomes too big,
and it's just and it becomes a like just fucking take it easy, man. It's not going to happen this year, type of thing, and it's just another wasted year, man. It's people were frustrated during the process when it was like, oh, they're going to be bad again, just another wasted. They're going to waste another year, as if like that wasn't significantly more appealing than what is happening right now. Like this is a wasted year. When the clock is, when you have nobody that matters on the team, and you're just trying to find somebody to build around, then it's wasted years are fine. That is part of it. That is how it goes. You don't want to have it. I don't know why I'm just referencing football, but like you don't want to have somebody that you're building around be Daniel Jones, just good enough that you have to sign him to a big contract that as soon as they take the
to win,
and not good enough to win.
Yeah.
So they find Joel after a couple wasted years. Obviously, he's hurt the first 2, and that was just like they're trying to find the guys to build around when nothing mattered. That was great. That was what they were supposed to do. Right now, this is the painful part. When the window of opportunity, if it ever was open, is closing more and more each year. We're becoming later and later in Joel's prime. Maxi's more expensive now. Like now the clock of Joel's prime and Jared McCain's rookie contract are going to be like combining for a kind of, okay, something's got to happen before one of those things changes. Paul George, obviously, at the end of his prime as well. Like the wasted year now hurts. It hurts now. And I hate it for Joel. I hate it for us. I hate it last year when Joel missed most of the season, and it was just like Maxi having to shoot like 38 times a game and do everything by himself and look so beat and tired. And it's just like the season and the goal of the season, the intent of a season, the feeling of a season building towards something, it just blows, and you're already ready for like, okay, how long until next September? And it's just, I feel bad for everybody, the team, us. People are blaming Daryl for all this. Like, I really don't know what else there was to do. Like,
he was in a remarkably difficult position, and I know people say, "Well, it's just because he comes on the podcast." We criticize Daryl fine, and there will be a whenever this ends or whatever, there will be a decision on the reckoning on the extension and all that stuff. But like, I also don't know what the other path was at this point. Like, I think the best path at this point was to like, well, let's see if it works. You know what I mean? Like, it was still I still think it was the best decision. And by the way, even people who hate them all agreed this offseason was a win. We all agreed this offseason was a win.
Yeah, it just has worked out in the worst possible way in the world. And some of the guys that he's signed, like some minimum guys, Kelly Oubre was a minimum guy last year, worked out great. Gershon Yabusele, minimum guy this year, has worked out great. Drafting Maxey where he drafted him, drafting McCain where he drafted him, something I probably wouldn't have done, and I would have been wrong. Like, Eric Gordon's missing a lot of shots. If he sucks, you cut him. This is what you do on minimums. This is what you do. Like, not every minimum is going to fucking hit.
Well, if everybody knew that a minimum was going to hit, he wouldn't be a minimum.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
the point. Yeah,
and so just like some people definitely didn't believe in Paul George. I understand. I don't think that there were other great options there. If Embiid was out, if we knew Embiid was going to be out as much as he is this season, and obviously some people would have assumed that, but I think everyone's still hoping the best case scenario. Maybe you say, okay, yeah, instead of giving Paul George this contract, then you go get Brandon Ingram, because Brandon Ingram is better maybe in a scalable way to be the guy at his age, whereas Paul George is better fitting into the Maxey and Embiid ecosystem. Maybe I don't believe that, but I think maybe you could
make the argument.
Some people could make the argument that Ingram is at least younger and have fresher legs, and that kind of thing, a little bit more on.
But to what end? I think is the truth.
For sure.
Like, we're all just talking about details. If Joel Embiid can't play at a high level, it doesn't. He made decisions based on the ability of Embiid to play at a high level, because making any other decision is not championship sort of material, and that's how you wind up in this situation. I think it sucks, and we're headed for likely a fucking disastrous year. As for just shutting him down, like, I think they probably get more information out of seeing what he can stand and what he can't stand this year in terms of the knee. I don't know, but I don't get the sense that the degeneration that has happened in his knee, which is, arthritic, basically. You have that many surgeries in the knee. Like, I could have, anyone with that condition could take a year off, and when they start up again, it's not, your body doesn't like regenerate that part of it. So I don't know what good it does. They will have to decide. And look, his body might say, look, there's no way I can play, and it might make the decision for them too. Yeah. So
at what point do you, Spike, decide the Sixers are 3-14, they have a top 6 protected pick? What is the game number that you want to shut them down at?
50. And the reason it's so deep into the season is because I don't think, remember, we're talking about Paul George too.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think the NBA just lets you do that. I think Embiid, you could pull it off. I think you need the end in sight for these other guys. And I do think eventually, once they know that Embiid's not coming back, they'll probably start to play better, because they'll stop thinking about, they'll stop waiting for him. I think individuals probably play better. I think Nick Nurse can probably do a better job coaching. So I think it's around 50. Where do you think?
What would the record be at 50 that you, like, how many games out of the 10 spot would you say?
Like, if they have like 18 wins.
If they're 18 and
32.
God, the idea of getting to 18 wins
seems impossible. How are we even going to get 18 wins?
Now. So 18 and 32. Right now they're 3-14.
So they would have to go
15 and 18.
Yeah, it seems impossible. They'll never be 18 and 32. Yeah.
If they're 18 and 32, and probably, I mean, that's probably 6 games out of a playoff spot. Maybe less. 4 to 6.
Out of a play-in spot.
Play-in spot, yeah. Out of the 10 spot. Because 10 is usually like some number of games under 500. maybe less. That might be like 3 or 4 games out of a playoff spot, and you would say, shut it down.
I would have to say, but I don't think you can make those decisions before game 50.
Yeah. I mean, if they're 18-32, and Joel is like a week on, 2 weeks off. Joel hasn't played in a win yet, has he?
No.
That's like the scariest thing.
Yeah.
That's like it's 4 games, so whatever. But like,
wow,
for his whole career, they've won games that he just suited up in. Yeah, truly just arrive. And even if he plays badly, they win those games because of his presence.
CJ, Mike wants you to wave. He specifically asked.
I need you to walk by like a in between rounds of a boxing match.
Oh, that would be sick.
That would be good.
But CJ in a little gown or bikini or something as well.
I think a gown would be really nice. I think you look great in a gown.
Yeah.
But you could also wear your regular clothes, whatever you want to wear, however you feel comfortable in, pal.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. My dogs sleep on Big Barkers. Rebel sleeps on a Big Barker, has since he was like, I think 3 years old. It's 10 and a half now. Still fucking gets up, moves like nobody's business. Scotchy doesn't move like nobody's business, but that's just sort of like her. That's how she is. But Big Barker Dog Bed will make a difference in your dog's life. Will make your dog healthier and happier, just as a good mattress would make you happier and healthier. You spend a lot of time sleeping. Your dog spends even more time sleeping. And sleeping on a mattress that supports your dog's joints makes a big difference. So much of a difference. Penn Vet did a study, and it showed improvements in all these things. Improvements in joint function, reduction in pain severity, reduction in joint stiffness, all this stuff because of sleeping on a Big Barker. You adopt a dog, your job is to give that dog the best possible life you can, which means happiest and healthiest, and Big Barker is part of that. You go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, you get the Big Barker, you get processed pup patches, you get a red, white, and blue one, black and white one, you get some stickers, but also you get your dog a life that is more free of the symptoms of arthritis than would be otherwise. Also send us a picture of your dog on the Big Barker, become a processed pup, put them on our Instagram. Everybody will tell you how cute your dog is. Win-win, win-win-win. Also, calling it Big Barker, but it comes for dogs of every size. We actually have a couple cats that sleep on Big Barkers. From the Barker Jr. to the extra large, which a human could sleep on. That's how big it is. A 10-year warranty. The foam won't flatten, or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, if your dog doesn't love it, they will give you a full refund and even pay for the shipping. It's handmade in the USA. Big Barker Dog Beds.
Woof, and a quick, brief, sad rest in peace to my family dog, Donovan, who did die.
Oh, no.
2 days ago.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's okay.
How old was Donovan?
Donovan made it to 16 and a half.
Oh, that's
a hell of a run.
Good run
from the guy. But we're all pretty bummed. He wasn't a good boy.
Many of them are not. Like Rebel's not a good boy. Yeah, but he is a good boy. Yeah.
But he was great. And rest in peace, Donovan. Hell of a run.
That's so sad. I'm so sorry. Love to you and your family. Yeah, thank you. It fucks me up, man. When even other people's dogs pass away, it fucks me up. So I'm sorry. A weird transition into enemies of the process.
So we go from the worst news about the Sixers and Embiid. Mike's dog died, and some more bad stuff. Here we go.
But at least funny stuff. So this is also from the Ramona Shelburne article. Talks about Ben Simmons. And then we'll get to the other enemies. But I would say Ben is an enemy of the process or whatever. The matchup with Ben Simmons with the Brooklyn Nets was more sad than cruel last Friday. For years, the Philly fans booed him heartily each time he returned to face the team he forced his way out of in 2022. Embiid wouldn't even say his name, referring to him by his number and only when he had to. But so much has gone wrong for Simmons and his former team in the years they've been apart that Simmons' presence back in Philadelphia barely registered this time. He had even reached out to Embiid and others last summer, league sources said, hoping to mend fences. Simmons, who's in the final year of his contract with Brooklyn, has shown how he can still be an impact He can still impact a game with his passing length and defense, but in the second quarter of the game on Friday, he also missed the rim on a layup in a clip that quickly went viral, reminding everyone of how his time in Philadelphia went awry. Could they ever try and figure it out together again? One source called it unlikely, but stranger things have happened, especially with the Sixers.
This was an insane thing to put in this article.
Yes, that part of it. I think him reaching out to people last summer is interesting. I don't think it matters to the context of the article at all. Certainly
the whole article, it just felt like so scattered and aimless. It was like, here's what's going on with the Sixers.
With no scoops whatsoever.
No, just like this is happening. And you guys remember, speaking of bad stuff, Ben Simmons, like to say he reached out last summer and then to not finish the story.
Yeah, give context. What happened? Did they talk?
To be like, he reached out. Like, how did did he send a letter?
Yes.
In the mail?
Yes.
Like, what is awaiting a response? Was he left on red? Like, what? Just say it was all very bizarre. I don't think that that this is the answer.
Well, he can't play anymore. That's the biggest problem. Is he can't play.
Yeah, I played all right last night.
Yeah,
but no, I'm not.
Yeah,
no. I think there's no reason for them to think that that's the situation.
No,
that should be thrown upon them. But I would be interested to know if Joelle responded.
Yes, that part's interesting at least. But
they didn't say. She didn't say it.
Yeah, and a weird thing to put in the middle of an article with no resolution to it.
Yes.
An article not about Ben Simmons at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about Markelle?
Yes.
What about Zaire?
Yes.
Let's
go through all those guys.
Are him and Jimmy still close?
Yeah.
Have him and JJ's talked since JJ got the Lakers job? Like, just run down the list of former guys that we believed in.
So speaking of JJ. Now, I know he's not an enemy of the process, but he is an enemy of me. And he was interviewed at halftime of last night's game. And boy, this was real JJ-like of him. Here it goes.
JJ, I'm sure you like to end the half on a corner three like that. But end the half on a corner three like that. Our end of quarter execution has been so bad the last 3 games. So bad. What stood out the most to you? Our defense was awesome in the first half. It really was. I thought our physicality was great. I thought our cover mentality was great, helping each other. We got to be a little bit better with our closeouts. All right. Thanks, JJ. Guys, let's go back to the studio.
The angriest man alive.
Yes. Why is he so mad?
It's a little.
Is it a bit or is it him? Well,
I think this is who he's always been.
Okay, so he's not trying to live up to the ideal of what he thinks people are expecting from him. This is just who he is.
I briefly thought that might be the case.
Okay,
but now this many games into the season, I do think he's just the angriest person alive.
Yeah,
I think he is furious. I think this job is eating away at him.
Yeah,
and I wonder if I was going to say, because Doc doesn't seem angry.
No,
only when talking about like
he's pissy, but not angry.
Yeah, only when talking about like himself.
Yeah,
and defending himself from accountability. JJ just seems like truly angry all the time.
Yes,
and now he's getting to be. He doesn't have to worry about like being a player that guys want to play with, or being a media personality that seems like a guy you want to get a beer with. And now he's just like, I get to be full Duke, angry, entitled dickhead. And I'm doing it. LeBron is my best friend in the world, and I'm coaching him, and I'm pissed off all the time. I get to be. No one can tell me I can't be the angriest man alive. So, congrats to JJ. 82-game season in the playoffs. I'm sure this is going to work out well for your health.
Yes, I'm sure.
For like, if I'm JJ, you got to imagine at least the persona that he had as a podcaster and stuff. Very like pro mental health, very like nuanced, and very like you should take care of yourself. It shouldn't be like let your masculinity, the toxic, get in the way, whatever. You got to imagine that he has been in therapy, and I don't know if he's still in it, but if I'm JJ's therapist,
it's not a great advertisement.
I'm watching this.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey man,
yeah, Well, I'm sure he did like BetterHelp fucking ads when he was doing podcasts.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody, if whoever's JJ therapist is, if they're watching JJ's halftime, I'm like, hey, I'm texting. I'm texting during the game. Hey, cool off, pal. Maybe relax a little bit.
Just a little.
That's good. That's the only fun thing we've had to track this season. It's Jared McCain and JJ being the angriest man alive.
Well, here's another fun thing before we go. Another enemy of the process update. This is the headline from ESPN. Sources: Scott O'Neill to replace Greg Norman as Live Golf CEO Commissioner. Mark Schlabach writes, Live Golf is expected to hire former NBA and NHL executive Scott O'Neill to replace Greg Norman as its CEO and commissioner. Sources confirmed to ESPN on Wednesday. If a deal is finalized with O'Neill, an announcement could come as early as next week. O'Neill worked as CEO of the 76ers starting in 2013 and later oversaw the NBA franchise and the NHL's New Jersey Devils as CEO of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. O'Neill also worked as the president of Madison Square Garden and was an employee of the NBA. The PGA Tour and PIF have been in negotiations for months about a deal that would inject more than $1 billion from the PIF into PGA Tour Enterprises, the new for-profit entity launched by the Tour and Strategic Sports Group. The PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and PIF signed a framework agreement on June 6 to form an alliance. That deal expired January 1st, but the sides have continued to work toward a potential deal. So Scott O'Neill collecting, like my gut is he's going to get paid like $10 million a year for this. And then my gut is when they merge with the PGA, which will happen, there will be some huge windfall, and Scott O'Neill will have a very high position in the new Saudi-led PGA. So congratulations, I guess.
Great. Great stuff. It's so funny.
It seems like it worked out for him, you know?
What's he do?
In the end. I have no idea. He's CEOs. He's CEOs.
What is that in this instance? What does that mean?
I don't know. He's working for the Saudis. Now, obviously, we're making fun of that. If the Saudis want to buy the Ricky for $1 billion,
I don't think
$1 billion?
I don't think I need to get in business. I don't think so.
If the Saudis offer us $1 billion,
I wouldn't believe that the money is real.
I would just take the money and not tell you that we were owned by the Saudis.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'd just be like, "Hey, your quarterly invoice is going to be a little higher."
Oh, that's good. I'm like, "Oh, cool." Nice.
Invoiced me for $32 million.
I'm like, "Oh, LL, doing well, good stuff."
Yeah.
No, I would be like, why? What do they think that our podcast can provide them for $1 billion?
Plus some sort of cover, I guess. Boy, can I tell you, the YouTube chat is weird during a bad season like this. It's a lot of anger in there. A lot of fucking anger in there.
People are angry. I really do think. I think you should. I think you should stop watching the games if you're upset. I think you should truly, like, if they win, you can go back and watch it on delay.
Yes.
And go like, oh, they win this game.
Yeah, it's fun.
That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. But these losses,
I don't think right now this is a useful thing for anyone, including us, by the way.
No. But it's sort of the gig at this point.
I've always wanted to only podcast after wins.
Now, I know you don't like the voicemails. But I have to tell you, the end of this voicemail asks one of the most crucial questions I've ever believed has been asked of us in any email or any voicemail.
All right, let's hear it.
So it's a good sell. 833 Lickface is the number.
Hi, Spike, Mike, et al. I was looking at our draft position. We obviously have a top 6 protected pick that if it falls below goes to the Thunder. I was looking at the top 6 of the draft, and it is very interesting. So record-wise or Joel's health-wise or vibe-wise, how bad would the Sixers have to be before you are ready to embrace the tank and say, give Embiid the rest of the year off, let him manage his knee, lose some weight, whatever, let PG just make his podcast, whatever, come back in a year with McCain and Maxey growing, hopefully, and let's just get a top 6 pick. Is there something you're waiting for to see, to not see, anything like that? Non-basketball question. I was recently at a Friendsgiving event talking to my girlfriend on the way there, sort of boring her, talking about the Rice Ricky Sanchez podcast. And an acquaintance overheard and was like, oh, Lee Pavorsky? Turns out that she used to work there, and she remembers, quote, the podcast guy who used to come in with his dog. So, non-basketball question. If the two of you were on a deserted island, and let's just say self-pleasure is not an option in this scenario, how long would it be before you hooked up? Just a little bit. Thanks.
Now, first I want to say that Pavorsky employee was a liar. I never brought Rebel into LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Wow.
Never happened. So, but more importantly, Mike, your position on the final question.
Yeah, look, I hear it, and I hear people. I am sure there's a segment of the fan base of our listeners that wants to do fanfic of us hooking up on a desert island. I do think I would die before I got to that point. I think I would die pretty fast, as we've talked about. Maybe CJ would survive long enough to hook up with one of the other Ricky staff, but I do think I would go pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can't procreate, so it's not like we need to, populate the island.
Yeah,
it would just be, for fun.
And I like the idea of it, like, and nobody can jack off. It's like, what is the desert island? What are the rules?
You're handed the rules by I might take my chances jacking off, just see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah. Got a whole island to do it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, the Sixers are terrible. Hopefully they win some games, or I don't know. Not hopefully. A lottery party would be a lot of fun. So.
At what point do you start rooting for them to lose?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that yet. I'm not there. Neither. I'm not close to it yet.
No,
because I can't. Because there's so much time between now and that could be terrible getting to there. It's sort of like when you grow your hair out. There's all these times in between where it really sucks having like mid-grown hair. Rooting for the tank is fully having the long hair. And it takes longer than you think. So I'm not there yet. You're not, are you?
No, I mean, if someone told me that it was, you could just,
fast forward,
put Joel down for a year, let him go into a dark cave.
Yeah.
And he comes back next year better. Then I would be like, hey, Paul George, just like jump around a lot. Try to dunk as much as you can. See if we can tweak something. And then you can be out for many months. And then it can just be like, let McCain work through the rookie wall and get one of the, I mean, it's a good draft. It's a really good draft. Whether it's Cooper Flagg or somebody else, it's a good draft. And even if they don't use that pick, that could be something that and I think they probably should. We're ahead of ourselves. But if the Sixers do suck enough to get a top 6 pick, I do think they should use it and take the player.
Daryl's going to trade it for Harden.
Well, Daryl, I just think now we have to, with McCain being as good as he is and Maxey being already, having been good as he is.
You could try the 2 timeline thing that the Warriors tried at that point. Yeah.
I don't think, and that wouldn't be like right now, the four main players in the organization are going to be here no matter what. I don't think that anyone they could trade say the 4th pick for would be so perfect. Like there's not a kind of player that you could trade the 4th pick for that you would go, okay, that is worth more than a potential all-star type of player on a rookie deal who can slowly work their way into being useful and better. Like, you wouldn't trade a 4th pick for the kind of Dorian Finney-Smith type that this team needs. You wouldn't trade a 4th pick for Cam Johnson.
No.
You wouldn't like those kinds of things. It'd just be like what it's sort of two in between. So you just got to trust that you can continue to get Caleb Martins, Kelly Oubre's, Gershon, an Eric Gordon that doesn't miss every single one of his shots. Those kinds of things to supplement the main four players, and then go, okay, we're going to take a shot on this high lottery pick that could be useful, could play rotation minutes, but also eventually blossom into that kind of power forward, small forward type that you would want to play with McCain and Maxey.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems more likely than not that we're going to have to figure that out. Also, the possibility, by the way, that if we're not one of the two worst teams in the NBA, there's a chance we don't even get the fucking pick.
Yeah. That would be bad.
Wouldn't be
to drop down. I would rig it.
Yeah, you have to find a way to rig it. You have to pay someone off.
You have to find a way to fucking Adam Silver and the ghost of David Stern don't want the Thunder to get another top.
They don't need it.
They don't want it. Nobody wants it. They don't need it.
Nobody wants it.
If Embiid is out for the year and Paul George dies and has to podcast about his death on his podcast, which he's doing actively about the Sixers' death, I do think he should stop. Please. They should rig the fucking lottery for us to at least. I'm not saying we got to get one. Let Cooper Flag go somewhere else. It's fine. But let me get at least Ace Bailey or something like that. And you got to give me a top 5 pick for what we've been through. Fucking karma. I want to see whoever. I hope that person who wrote that karma headline has a terrible Thanksgiving.
All right.
Karma comes for the Sixers.
All right. I got to go to Thanksgiving.
All right.
Sorry. I know you're cooking now, but
no, it's good.
All right.
I'm waking up.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and thank you for listening, you sick fucks. We will talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, Lick Face.